Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name's Alex. I'm a racing driver and sim racer, and today I'm going to have a look at Le Mans Ultimate version 1.3. For those of you guys who are new to the channel, I've raced in real life as well, anything from touring cars to prototypes to GT cars. So actually started in the mighty Dacia Logan Cup, not the Nürburgring one though, the ones we had back in Romania. Raced prototypes at the 24 Hours of Zolder, including up to LMP3 level in Prototype Cup Germany, and all sorts of things, for example, Porsche 911s and that sort of stuff. I've sim raced as well. I've done the virtual 24 Hours of Le Mans in the now defunct, what's it called, LMVS Le Mans Virtual Series. So today I'm going to have a look at Le Mans Ultimate version 1.3. This is, or should be, quite a big update, bringing some underlying changes to the sim, as well as two new pieces of content. That's the Magma Genesis hypercar, and then the Duquesne D08 LMP3 car, which I actually had the pleasure of driving in real life. So without further ado, let's have a look at the game, what's changed, and whether it's any good or not. So let's start with the good bits first. We're gonna do this review in three parts. It's gonna be the good, the bad, and the ugly. The first two good bit of news you can see on the screen. First of all is the Genesis Magma, I think it's called GMR001 hypercar. It's a new addition, it's a free addition to the game as well. So those of you with the base game will be getting a new hypercar, which will debut in the World Endurance Championship actually this year. So this car has not turned a wheel in any race just yet. It's done testing, it's been through an extensive testing program ever since last year, and now we're getting it in the game. So that is quite cool. It is a car built on the LMDH regulations, so that's the American set of regulation. It gets very complicated, I won't get into that, but basically in the hypercar class in Le Mans Ultimate you get two types of cars. You get LMH, which is Le Mans Hypercar, built under a set of regulations with a lot more freedom, and those regulations have been basically drafted up or are governed by the ACO, which is the European part, who organizes the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the World Endurance Championship, and that sort of stuff. The second set of regulations is called LMDH. I think it's Le Mans Daytona Hybrid or Hypercar, something like that, and that's under the American rules, and those cars have a bit less degree of freedom. They're supposed to use a next generation LMP2 chassis underneath. They have standardized hybrid systems, a bit less kind of freedom for the designers. Anyway, this is an LMDH car, and it basically feels good. It feels very good in the game. It just reacts how you'd expect a hypercar to react. It is kind of, I would say, fitting to my driving style. The engine sound is probably not the best one in the game, but it's still, you know, you have to work with what you've got in terms of the engine. It's a nicely made hypercar. I think all the hypercars in the game are kind of nicely recreated. You've got the fully functioning hybrid system, which you don't get in any other sim. Maybe only in AMS2, if I'm not mistaken, but you definitely don't get a working hybrid system in iRacing or Asetek. I think Asetek Corsa maybe with mods. So that works properly. Good. That's the car. I think it gets a solid 8 or 9 out of 10 for me. The second bit of content is Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya. Barcelona in plain English, and it's the track I'm driving on now. It's a track that I've actually been testing at last November, so it's quite fresh in the mind. And we get the updated layout, which everybody is using now in car racing. So you'll see here in the last sector, there's no more nasty chicanes. And instead we get two mighty high-speed corners, especially the last one, which are now very daunting in real life. The circuit is nicely made as well. Everything's where you'd expect, kind of the curbs. Most of the bumps are more or less realistic. Barcelona is a very heavily used track, especially in testing in real life, so you do get some minor changes. So sometimes here in T1 and T2 you might get sausage curbs on the inside, depending on who runs the test day or the track day. But I would say this is a very nice rendition, obviously laser scanned. There are some bits, so for example here, this red apron, you actually use it a lot in real life, and it's a bit bumpy, I find, in game. I'm not sure if that's a scan issue or we're gonna talk very soon about the force feedback things I've been experiencing. So yeah, pieces of content so far very good. There is one more piece of content, which is only... So actually Barcelona is not free, sorry. Just worth mentioning. So you get the Genesis for free, you get the hypercar for free, even if you have the base game. Barcelona and the Duquesne D09, I think now, LMP3 car, they're part of the LMS pack, so you have to buy the LMS DLC to get access to them. So let's switch and have a look at the Duquesne as well. While we wait for the game to load and switch to the Duquesne, there's actually one extra thing I need to mention in the good category, and that's something you saw right there, and it's the loading time. So this upgrade, this update, has significantly made loading times shorter. I'm running it on an SSD, on an NVMe, so it is running on a quick hard disk, but the loading times are, at least for me, quicker. You've seen there the menus sometimes, at least for me, take a while to load, so we'll get back to that in the kind of bad category. But before we jump ahead of ourselves, let's just have a quick look at the Duquesne. So obviously it's an LMP3 car. I've driven this car in real life in the Gen 2 spec, so this is a Gen 3 car. The difference between Gen 2 and Gen 3 is basically the engine. So the old LMP3 cars used to have a big, naturally aspirated V8 engine in them. This one has a Toyota-derived twin-turbo V6, so the sound is not going to be as good. But in terms of the cockpit, in terms of the models, where everything is, obviously it's a right-hand drive car. I think they've made a good job at producing this LMP3 car. As I mentioned, I tested this at Barcelona back with DKR in 2023, I think. And I've also raced the Ligier LMP3 car. And out of the two, I definitely prefer the Duquesne. I can't speak too much of the new chassis because obviously of the new gen, they're a bit different. They're not radically different from what I'm being told by other drivers, but obviously the engine is a massive difference. In terms of aero, there's just a bit more cooling on the cars visually outside. The aero in terms of downforce and aero balance should be quite similar. And the chassis, obviously, it's a carbon tub, so it's the same. Carbon tub, big engine in the back. Quite big aero on these cars, so obviously you can't compare them to the LMP2 or hypercar aero, but they are proper prototypes, so they are quick cars. They are significantly quicker than a GT3 car. One thing that surprised me is I've actually done the race yesterday, the launch party, the LMS launch party, and I was surprised to see that the straight line speed was not much more than the LMGT3s. And LMGT3 is quite heavily restricted. It's a quite heavily restricted GT3 car. When I was here in real life with the LMP3, it was quite easy to overtake the GT3s on the straight line. It wasn't as easy, obviously, as LMP2 or a hypercar, but, you know, there was a noticeable speed differential in there. In the game, that doesn't seem to be the case. I haven't cross-referenced the speeds of it or anything to make sure if they make sense with the new V6s. The lap times did make sense to what I was expecting from real-life races and testing. Maybe the car is a bit quicker in the sim, which I think is to be expected. In most sims, generally, that's the way that sim racing has quicker cars than in real life, because otherwise they feel a bit too slow and not very engaging. Yeah, another part that should be in the good category. Obviously, I would play, so all the content, the new content, I think is good. It's great. Is it going to be game-changing? No. Another thing that they announced as part of this update was the menu loading performance. And you guys have noticed when I loaded onto the track, so the loading time onto the track for me is significantly shorter. I can't put a number to it, but it is definitely shorter. So they've improved that, which is good, because loading times in LMU were quite long. If you joined the race long, or I don't know, you had a game crash just before the race ever started, and then you're scrambling to join, you know, this is gonna help, obviously. But when the server actually loads, and when I jump to the garage, you can see that you're getting loaded into the default kind of setup screen. That is a bit buggy for me for some reason. So that either appears as incomplete, or it takes a bit too much time to load. I don't know what it is. Sometimes I get the car disappearing in the middle. It's a bit iffy on that side. And the other thing is, so if I quit to the main menu, the menu performance in here, the GUI, now uses a different technology in the background. I'm not going to go into that because IT is not my strong side, but it should have been better performance for the graphical interface, the menus. For me, I noticed no difference, maybe even slightly slower. So if I go here, you can see it takes a while to, yeah, to scroll through all of these. I don't know if this is a me issue. I have a friend who said for him it's significantly better. I have no idea what's going on here, but this should have been in the good category. For me, it's definitely not. The update has made it worse. I don't know if it's an issue on my end or anybody else is struggling with the same thing. They've apparently done it to prepare for LMU's upcoming console launch, which is coming, well, whenever. We don't know. I think those are the main updates. Let's go. That's the good stuff from LMU. I forgot to mention something good with the game. The performance has been improved. The performance has been improved in terms of frames per second. Maybe not that much in my case, but the game is, especially in races, a lot more stable. So before the update, I used to get a lot of fluctuations in performance, depending on the time of day, where I was on the track, how many cars were in the pits, that sort of stuff. This is now a lot more stable, so I can run the game on higher settings and still enjoy a very good experience on my triple screen setup. So that is very much welcome. Let's go to the bad now. So obviously some of the bugs, I don't know if they're mine, if they're kind of generic, but one of the worst things with the new update for me is the force feedback. And this is something I've confirmed from multiple sources, so it's not just me. The force feedback now, when I turn in the LMP3, in the hypercar, no matter what car it is, the wheel simply vibrates a lot. It's as if I'm always driving on heavily flat-spotted, heavily imbalanced tires. To the point that, you know, they've made some changes to the force feedback. They've added True Force, which is specifically for Logitech. I'm on Asetek. I'm using a La Prima with the boost kit, by the way. So I went in here. I'm running force feedback smoothing quite high, actually, because in LMU, it's very easy to get lockups. And once you get a lockup, you get nasty vibrations. So even with a very high degree of smoothing, whenever I turn, especially in Barcelona on right-handers in the LMP3, is noticeably worse than in the hypercar, but in the hypercar is present as well. The wheel just vibrates. It has these micro vibrations as if I'm driving over bumps or I have heavily flat spotted tires or anything like that. So I don't know what it is that they changed. My friend who's running on the VRS wheel, so completely different ecosystem, completely different settings, has the same thing. I have turned this off for vendor specific force feedback and it has made the problem a tiny bit better, but it is still bad. I sincerely hope this is a bug, and I believe it is a bug. I don't have it confirmed, but that's something I definitely do not enjoy. The other side is, with the new update, they have not changed anything relating to the tire model. And for people who watch my live streams will know I'm not the biggest fan of especially the LMP2 and LMP3 tire models. The hypercars run a different model. I didn't drive a lot of the GT3 cars, by the way, so if you're looking for an update on GT3s, this is not going to be the video to run you through that because I just don't use them often enough. But for LMP2, there is still no tire update, so there is a known issue where if you spin and you get the tire temperatures up in LMP2, there's no way to get them back down again. They admitted that is a bug, and you know they're working to fix it, but apparently it's a more difficult issue to fix. No idea when that's gonna happen. And then the LMP3 tire model, I think, is quite weak as well. The cars don't generate temperature. That's generated very hard. They're very understeery for some reason, especially on cold tires, which in real life is really not the case. And I hope they do revise that a bit. The other bit I'm quite disappointed in is that there's still some bugs in the game that haven't been fixed. So I think this update was focused, first of all, on the content, second, on future-proofing some technologies to make the game ready for consoles. But it doesn't go far enough in addressing some bugs, so people still have issues with game crashes, you know, random MFV or pit issues. There's a couple of things, some tire allocation issues. For example, if you do qualifying on a set of tires and then you go immediately into the race, the tire temperature of that set carries on for the race as well. So let's say you do qualifying, you got tires up to 80 degrees, right? The race starts in 10 minutes and you start or pit and change to those set of tires, they're gonna be at 80 degrees, which obviously doesn't make sense. It kind of makes sense in game, I guess, with the, with the tires being held at an ambient, and probably the race is scheduled just after qualifying, but you know, it's not realistic. There's a lot of things like that that just didn't get the attention that I was hoping they're gonna get. I will say still that the game is, when you're playing without any issues and you're playing, let's say, in the optimal range, it is still very enjoyable, and you're probably not going to notice that. But I do a lot of competitive racing where obviously you try to use every single advantage, every single kind of bug or tweak to that. Track limits as well, they've been inconsistent to say the least. Not only at Barcelona, there's some issues at other tracks as well where the track limits are inconsistent from practice to qualifying to the race. That's still ongoing. I haven't seen a fix for it, and it's quite brutal at Barcelona. It's very difficult to kind of see or understand some of the track limit penalties. And now to end the video, let's go to the ugly. And this is my biggest problem with Le Mans Ultimate right now. So this, bear in mind, is the official game of the World Endurance Championship of ELMS, and it's version 1.3. Right, so version 1.3 means it's no longer early access. It should have more or less all the features that you expect from a game that simulates endurance racing. It's got some tire issues, okay, some tire model issues, some bugs here and there. Let's say we gloss over that, but the thing I'm most disappointed about is that team racing is still not a finished feature. In 2026, in Gaudi's year 2026, they still haven't announced another date for a 24-hour race, which runs without issues or anything like that. They still do team events here and there. They kind of run okay. And I get hopeful, and I hope we're getting closer to a release, but there is no word, as far as I'm aware, when this is going to be finished. And for me, this was my biggest problem with getting the game out of early access. So you could say you can release it with all the bugs. That's fine. Even 1.0, even V1.5, you can expect some bugs, right? But that is such a fundamental part, or should be such a fundamental part of this game, that you are able to run a 24-hour race with friends, set up your own team, be it single or multiplayer. Probably multiplayer is the area I'm interested in most. And you can't do that. You still can't do that. The last event they run was a Le Mans 12 hours, because obviously they didn't have the confidence to launch the 24-hour event again. They ran 2 of them, they made some back-end changes, they fixed some bugs, some other bugs pop out. That is my biggest problem with this title right now. So, again, regular viewers of the channel would know I'm not a big fan of iRacing. I did compete on iRacing, you know, we've done 24-hour races, endurance races, and one of the most beautiful things actually about iRacing is that it works. You know, you can have a 24-hour race, a 12-hour race, an 8-hour race, whatever you want, with some mates in a special event, or create yours, and it's just gonna work. And it's sad that you can't have the same experience in Le Mans Ultimate yet. I really believe that in terms of content, the game right now has more than enough to attract people, right? You've got a lot of prototypes, you've got hypercars, you've got LMP2, you've got LMP3, you've got 2 specs of LMP2 actually. You've got GT3 cars, you've got GTE cars. I think that's more than enough. You've got nice tracks, even outside of the current World Endurance Championship calendar. You've got Sebring, for example. Now you've got Barcelona. So I think the content is very good and it is very solid. But what's the point if you can't run a 24 hours of Le Mans on the game? On the official game of the 24 hours of Le Mans. And that would have been fine in early access, right? That would have been totally fine. It's an early access game, it's not finished yet. But we are in version 1.3, and I still think they lay too much priority. I might be wrong about this. I hope I'm wrong about this. I still think they lay too much priority on bringing us extra content. Where I think the next focus, and for me this is going to be make or break this year, and I think before the end of the year, they need to bring out a build which lets you do 24-hour races without any major issues. Will it have some minor issues? Sure, maybe. That's fine. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be there in the game. I think, you know, that's the bar that they need to set themselves. If they run another test event for the 24 Hours of Le Mans in, I don't know, a month's time, 2 months' time, it goes all swell and says, yeah, okay, this feature is now there for everybody. We're going to have, you know, all these championships and the Le Mans Virtual Series, which I've actually taken a part in last time when it was last run on R Factor 2. If that series can return as well, it means that the game is there and is stable enough. That for me is the last missing piece to make this title really, really successful. Because it does have the potential to be one of the best sim racing games out there. It has good force feedback. Well, maybe a bit worse with the new bug on the update, but it still has very good force feedback. It's got, in parts, decent tire models or fixable tire models. It's got the whole grid, it's got the tracks, it's got all the ingredients there. It just needs to refine them right now. And I think that's going to be the key to LMU's success. Now, to end the video, would I recommend you get LMU? I would say it has to be a yes under some circumstances. So I do recommend that if you want to try out LMU, buy the base game first. See if you like the base game. If you can still do daily racing and sign up to that for free, which is good. If you like it, then you can look into further expansions such as getting the DLCs or maybe looking at the Race Control Pro subscription, which is what I have to Racing Championships as well. But yeah, try the base game, see if you like it. It's not for everybody. It is on the ascendancy, and I'd really hope that this title does well in the future. But yeah, let's hope we get 24-hour races, team races, fully fledged, embedded in the game, not just for special one-off events really soon. Alright guys, before you go, just want to say thank you so much for watching the video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you enjoy the channel. I also do a lot of live streams on LMU. Don't forget that if you want to buy any Asetek gear, you can get 5% off the entire website. If you use my code, it's ACDM at checkout. And yeah, check out their gear, have some fun, stay safe out there. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.